Shalom, and welcome to Common Sense Corner, presented by the United Congregation of Israel. Here on Common Sense Corner, what we do is take a look at the Bible and things that should be of common sense that just seem to pass people because we know that common sense is just not that common. Today we're going to take a look at the image of Christ. I am Kish ben Israel, and my brother here is Isaac ben Israel.
Shalom, my brother.
Shalom, welcome to the show. And once again, today's topic is the image of Christ. My brother, as we begin the show, I'd like for you to give me some insight on the show because the show is about me becoming educated on common sense things.
All right. Well, dealing with the common sense of the image of Christ. When you deal with the image of Christ, what we've always been given was what we always seen at Big Mama house.
Right.
And in some houses, it's still there to this very day. The image of the Last Supper, which deals with a lot of things. First of all, even in the changing of names, you have to deal with the fact that they call that Last Supper and not Passover. Most people don't understand that that is Passover. All right. So that picture that they've painted, all right, depicts this supper, but it's really Passover. So this is why even the people who have this picture don't feel the need to keep Passover, all right, because of the changing of a name. That is a very, very powerful thing. But what you also see in this picture is a picture, a portrayal of a Gentile Christ and a Gentile 12 disciples all presented there at this feast.
Okay, so you tell me that that's not the Last Supper, that's something else.
Right.
Okay, that also sounds like that needs to be another show.
You know what? I mean, it's something that, needs to be dealt with.
Okay,
right?
Okay. Yeah, you just took my common sense out the way with that one, but go ahead, my brother.
Well, and the first things in understanding the image of Christ, we have to understand that people, this is during the time when everything became whitewashed.
Okay.
Everybody became of Gentile descent of whenever you see the so-called pictures portrayed in the Bible. But when we look at these things, we find out that everybody is not a Gentile according to what's written in this book. When you read Genesis 10, it tells you who are the Gentiles. And when you look at those things, it directs you to Europe and Asia, where the Gentiles are. Of course, we have been told that you're either a Jew or Gentile, which is very, very far from the truth. So I think we have to get into this image so we can see what the Bible has to say about this. Let's read Revelation chapter 1 and let's go through verses 11 through 15 so we can see what the Bible says. When we read about this, a lot of people have a problem because they look at it as a racial issue. But what it becomes is an issue about presenting the full truth, because we have a prophesied event about the second coming of Christ. Well, it matters when they put up a news story and they tell you that a man robbed a bank. Don't they tell you what he looked like?
Oh, yes.
See, when they show you all of these important stories, they show you the image of that person.
Oh, yeah.
So we have a prophesied event that's coming to take place. Wouldn't it help if we have some kind of description of this person who should come, especially if we're going to go according to the book.
Right.
So according to the book, we should have some kind of idea what we're looking for.
Right, because if you definitely don't give a description, leave it to every man's imagination, then it's going to run wild. Because I know you can remember about the sniper.
Right.
When we heard about the sniper,
right,
all our imaginations went somewhere else.
Exactly.
When they gave a picture, well, we
were all just discombobulated because we never seen a sniper that looked like he came from the hood.
Right.
We had never seen anything like that. See? So all our eyes was focused on this is definitely a white male. And when they showed it, it was not a white male, but two black males, who were the snipers.
Yes, sir.
So it this whole thing is in your head, And it never occurs to us that what's in our head is not really a common sense thought according to the facts that have been presented.
Okay, and you said you wanted to go Revelation
chapter 1 and verse 11 through 15.
Verse 11, saying, I am Alpha and Omega, the first and the last, and what you seest, write in a book, and send it unto the 7 churches which are in Asia, unto Ephesus, and unto Smyrna, and unto Pergamos, and unto Thyatira, and unto Sardis, and unto Philadelphia, and unto Laodicea.
Right, so we're talking all of these churches, write these things down and send it to them. So at the beginning of this setup, everybody knows what's going on.
Okay.
But we've seen that all of those churches have been destroyed and other churches have been set up in their place.
Right.
Go ahead.
Okay, verse 12. And I turned to see the voice that spake with me, and being turned, I saw 7 golden candlesticks. And in the midst of the 7 candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot, and girt about the paps with a golden girdle.
Right, this is giving you the attire of holy garments. This is giving you the attire of the priest. You know, this is telling you how he looks, how he's dressed.
Right.
And it doesn't fit the common portrayal of the so-called pastor in these days. Okay? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 14. His head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire, and his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burnt in a furnace.
Okay, right there. And his feet like unto fine brass.
Right.
Now, when you deal with fine brass, understand that the brass that they dealing with is what we would call antique brass.
Right.
It wasn't antique to them. It was normal brass.
Right.
Okay? So what we call antique brass is the kind of brass that they dealt with. And to make sure of that, it said, and his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace.
That makes it even darker.
Exactly.
Right.
So now we have an image of this Gentile Christ. Now, you ever seen a white man with burnt black feet?
No.
I don't think I have either. And if so, he need to go to the doctor because there's something seriously wrong with a Gentile white man with burnt black feet.
Not only that, what about the woolly hair?
Well, when you deal with that, what we deal with this one is just dealing with white like wool.
Right.
When you deal with that. But you can deal with that wool in another place and it further explains, gives you a better picture as to who or how the Mashiach, Christ, looked.
Right. I guess what I'm getting at with the wool is that I've never seen a sheep with straight hair.
Correct.
It's always kinky and looking more like a fro.
Well, understand something. Even when you deal with, as it gave you a description
Right.
of how he was dressed, consider today's pastors. They have a suit, tie, and 99.9% of them have no hair on their face whatsoever. Have you ever considered, no matter what image of Christ you have ever seen, have you ever noticed that you've never seen one without a beard?
No, he always has a beard. And I mean, even when you look at all of these other, like Greek mythology and all that stuff, even their gods that they portray all have a beard.
Correct. So we have to understand that the Messiah will not be influenced by popular culture.
Right.
These things were written of old.
Okay.
So we have to take that into consideration when we deal with what's written.
Okay, with that said, let's get a little deeper into the image of the Messiah. Because, you know, really and truly when he shows up, I want to know what the king that sits on the throne looks like. Because I don't want to run up to the wrong person.
Exactly. And that's a very, very good point. You know, you're talking about the King of Kings. So how about we go into Revelations 4 and deal with him that sits on the throne. Let's see what the Bible has to say. Everybody has their own ideas of what they think, what they feel, and what they believe. We have to understand that Lucifer has an awesome marketing ministry. Okay? So the things that he wants to put out, he'll put them out over and over and over again. Because we've seen this image of Christ a million times over.
Right.
But let's see how many times we've heard this right here. Revelation chapter 4, and let's read verses 1 through 3.
1 through 3. After this I looked, and behold, a door was opened in heaven. And the first voice which I heard was as it were of a trumpet talking with me, which said, Come up hither, and I will show things which must be hereafter.
Which must be hereafter. Prophecy. Go ahead.
Okay. And immediately I was in the spirit, and behold, a throne was set in heaven, and one sat on the throne.
Mm-hmm.
And he that sat was to look upon like a jasper and a sardine stone.
He that sat he that sat on it was to look upon like a jasper and a sardine stone. Now, you have to do a little research on a jasper and a sardine stone, and you'll find out one thing. They're very dark brown. Okay. And you know what it matches? The part that we just read about the burnt brass.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you, I don't know nothing about stones, so I was going to ask you.
See, you have to, it's not a thing that you deal with in, normal everyday life things. But when you look these things up, you'll find out that the Bible coincides. The very thing that we read before, this justifies it as it is written. Let everything be established by 2 or 3 witnesses.
And it's interesting that you would mention stones right here, which come from the earth. And if we talk about color, what did the original man come from? What was Adam from?
He was from the dirt, the dust of the ground.
Okay, and most ground or dirt that I know of is brown.
Well, you deal with brown, but ask yourself, when you're talking about rich, fertile soil that grows, what does it look like?
It's dark.
Right.
Yep.
See, you have to go get that planting soil when you're getting ready to really plant something. And understand, at the beginning, man was able to stick his hand in the ground and bring forth fruit. We're talking about rich soil.
Right.
And this was the soil that man was made from. See? And see, people think that this is a racial issue. This is not a racial issue. You need to understand what you're looking for. Otherwise, you're going to be in the wrong place at the wrong time looking for the wrong thing. Okay? So you're talking about this is the color of man. Even if you deal with the color spectrum, we have a color spectrum where you even make paints.
Right.
And this is very simple. Common sense. Go to the Home Depot. Look at the color chart when they get ready to make the colors.
Right.
You have black on one end of the color chart. You have white on the other end of the color chart. If you add yellow and blue together, it makes green. If you add all these colors together, it becomes different colors.
Right.
They have this base color of white. Whatever you put in white, it becomes that color.
Right.
You have to put all of the colors together to make black.
Right.
So if you're going to have a base color, it has to be a color that has every other color in it. Black is a base color. Out of it, you can pull every color out of it, including white.
Right.
But on the other spectrum, at white, you cannot pull any other color out of it.
Speaking of pulling, there's a situation with Moshe and pulling his hand out of his coat. Can you explain that to me?
Well, the Hollywood portrayal of Moses gave us this certain thing, but it's certain things they wouldn't go into. The miracle of him putting his hand inside his bosom and coming out with leprous white snow hand, and then putting it back into his bosom and bringing it back, and it was like his other flesh.
Okay.
So when he put it in, it turned white.
Right.
He put it back in, it says it turned back to his other flesh.
Right.
What was the other flesh?
Yeah, because if it was white, or if he was already a white man.
Right. How was that a miracle?
Right.
How was that a miracle that white flesh turned white? That's not a miracle. So that's common sense.
Yes, sir. Yes,
okay? And just dealing with, you have to apply common sense when reading these scriptures. But most people will ask, why does that even matter?
Well, because common sense ain't that common.
Why does that even matter? We're going to get into why it matters. Let's go into Revelation chapter 6 so we can deal with why this has to happen. And most people don't understand that in the book of Revelations, the heavens open up twice. And within that, you have the Messiah coming forth, but you also have a great eviction out of heaven coming forth as well.
You know, I realize we're doing everything in Revelation, so my common sense is telling me that since this is the end of the book, I guess this covers everything that's from the front. So I don't need to go to the front because it's all here in the back.
And see, this is the thing. This Bible is one complete story. Okay, there is no one part, the other part. If you read in the beginning, you're gonna find that the end part is a confirmation of what was written in the beginning. But if you don't understand the base, you're not going to understand what's written in the end.
Okay.
So how many people jump to the end of a movie or jump to the middle of the movie? You don't understand when the main plot is revealed. You don't understand it because you missed a certain thing in the front of the movie. You missed certain things that went on before. So at the end, when the credits are rolling and one flower drops off the building, the people said, "What's that flower mean?" Now, the people who saw the front of the movie, they know exactly what that flower means.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
So this is one of those things you can't just skip. And this is what we're being taught. We are being taught to skip the whole front of the book, jump to the end of the book, and just read what's there. So you have a lot of people that believe things wholeheartedly, and it's wholeheartedly wrong. You know, just because you emotionally believe something doesn't make it true. And these are things that we have to deal with. So the question of why does it matter?
Right.
We have to deal with the second coming of Christ. And when Christ returns, we have to deal with what will you be looking for?
Right. That's why I said, man, hey, educate me so I'm not looking for the wrong person to come out of the skies and get myself in trouble.
Well, I tell you what, let's read Revelation 6 and let's start that at verse 12.
Verse 12. Revelations chapter 6 and verse 12. And I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood. Mm-hmm. And the stars of heaven fell onto the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind.
Now understand, the stars are bigger than the earth. So what we're dealing with here is those fallen angels, Lucifer and his fallen angels being thrown out of heaven for good.
Right.
Go ahead, brother.
All right. Verse 14, and the heaven departed as a scroll when it was rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every free man, hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and rocks, Fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb.
Okay, now, hide us from the face of him that sits on the throne. The one that we read with the feet that look like burnt brass.
Right.
The feet that look like jasper and a sardine stone.
Yes, sir.
They said, hide us from him. But here's the situation. This is not him. This is not him. Heavens open up twice in the book of Revelation. So you have to understand this is Lucifer being evicted out of heaven. Understand, Yahshua does not come forth into the last trump. This is the sixth seal. This is Lucifer. So everybody will be looking for one individual. This will be Lucifer being presented. Okay? At the seventh seal is Yahshua. So you have to know who you're looking for. Because this guy in the sixth seal, he won't look like how it's written down in this book. He's not that entity. Everybody will be looking for that image that they've seen on grandmama's wall.
Well, my brother, I thank you for joining me here on Common Sense Corner. And I hope you people have all gotten your common senses exercised, because we do know common sense is not that common. Shalom.
Shalom.